Hello and welcome back to my channel. It has been quite a while since my last video and I'm really excited to be here today, and I have so much to update you all on during my unplanned absence. I'm going to be doing this as a more casual video today, and before we sit down and get into the details of where I've been and what I've been up to, I thought it would be good to brew a cup of tea, and I invite you all to make your own cozy beverage and settle in for a chatty video. For those of you who are new to my channel, hello, my name is Erin. I'm a writer, content creator, and visual storyteller. I do that through videos like this, as well as photography, and I'm so glad to have you visiting my channel today. I hadn't planned to take a break from content creation, and certainly didn't plan to take such a long absence. Let me set this down so I don't spill it because I tend to talk with my hands. I'll go ahead and put in a content warning here that I will be talking about living through a natural disaster and, the time after a natural disaster, as well as things pertaining to mental health struggles and the loss of a pet. So if you are not in a space where you can, listen to those types of topics, I would encourage you to take care of yourself and just skip through this video for now. I'm going to share a few clips of what my neighborhood looks like 4.5 months after the storm. And I'd been debating on whether or not I wanted to show this footage because I don't want my videos to be so focused on the destruction and I guess the devastation that remains, but I also don't want to gloss over the reality of what this area still looks like and the recovery. But I'm also not going to try and hide or edit out the devastation that remains from the storm. So to start, I think I'd like to go back and sort of fill you all in on what's been going on since my last video, and then get into what plans I have for this channel, as well as my other content creation moving forward. In late September of 2024, Hurricane Helene devastated the Southeast United States, including where I live, near Asheville, North Carolina. We had, alerts and, warnings for, be prepared. And we had prepared, we had set aside water, and we made sure that we had different bits of food that we could eat for a few days, but we definitely didn't anticipate just how much destruction the storm would cause, and also how long our utilities would be gone. Right after the storm, we had lost power, we had lost water, we had lost cell phone reception, and it was such a surreal experience. I remember when the storm had passed and we were able to safely go outside and survey the damage that was on our street and then in our surrounding neighborhood. It was like something out of a movie. It didn't feel like it was real. And it didn't quite hit just how bad things were. The cell phone service continued to stay out. I know that some people had very spotty service depending upon who their cell phone provider was. So we were able to get a text out to our friend in Georgia just to let her know that we were alive and we were safe. And I think it was over 24 hours since our last communication. Being able to get that text message sent out and to get an immediate reply was such a relief, and I just immediately started to cry, because up until that point we hadn't been able to communicate with anybody outside of walking distance. So not even our friends who live in Asheville or the greater Asheville area. And I have a lot of experience with backpacking and camping and being in very remote environments, and therefore not having cell service, not having ready running water that you can just drink right away, or even having, a bathroom that you can use easily. I definitely know how to rough it, as it were. But when you aren't prepared for the exact situation that you find yourself in, it adds a level of stress. And luckily, my wife Cynthia and I are very adaptable and very resilient, but we weren't anticipating not having power. We weren't anticipating not having clean running water. And we had only stored so much because the predictions were, heavy rainfall, potential flooding, possible downed trees, typical things for this region for an extreme storm, but nothing like what actually happened. And so it's difficult to put into words the mindset that we had to go into. It really was this survival situation, and having to get information by word of mouth for a while, having to find water that was drinkable because we only had a limited amount saved, and then having to navigate around fallen trees so that we could walk Finley, our dog, and also avoiding downed power lines. It was very, very strange and surreal. So by the time we were finally able to get cell service and make a plan to evacuate, it was, via sort of broken, delayed texts through friends of how we might be able to have a clear route out of the Asheville area and Western North Carolina. So it was a very stressful several days that felt like weeks. And when we got to our friends in Georgia, the storm had passed through there, but hadn't hit the way that it did in Western North Carolina and Eastern Tennessee. And it was so strange to go from a completely devastated area with no power, not even the traffic lights had power, to then going into an urban setting where everything is running normally. It was so strange, and also very relieving because we hadn't been eating consistently for several days. We were probably a bit dehydrated because we were trying to conserve water as much as possible, and we hadn't showered properly in several days. By the time we got to our friends in Georgia, it still just felt like this strange dream. But after being there a few days, I think I started to come down from my adrenaline kick, and it all just started to hit me. And I started to feel the weight of all that had been lost near our home, the loss of lives of members of our community, the loss of places, and just all of it. And also feeling so grateful that our family was safe and we had a safe place to be. We had friends who were able to take us in, and, we were able to function, somewhat normally and not have to be in that constant survival from day to day. Saying a roller coaster of emotions doesn't feel like an accurate enough statement. It was the craziest roller coaster ride of emotions. And yeah, and I definitely noticed that my struggles with depression and anxiety really started to take a toll. I think when we were still here and, having to focus on like the essentials, like, okay, we need to go get water, we need to make sure we have enough food, we need to make sure the fur babies are fed and, taken care of, and just trying to do very simple things like washing our hands was quite an ordeal. And so I think when I was in that setting, everything was just building and building and building. And then once I was in a safe environment where I wasn't having to survive and focus on those specific tasks, I was able to feel the depth of my emotions and all the stress that had accumulated. And for anyone who's been through a natural disaster or some type of traumatic event like this, obviously there is a period of grief that follows. And as I've learned over the past few months, the stages of grief. Oh, it's okay. What does she see?
Yes.
Oh, that's okay. For anyone who has experienced a natural disaster or a traumatic event like a car accident or, something similar, something that you couldn't plan for and it happens really suddenly, I think that you will be familiar with the stages of grief and how moving through them is not a linear process. And I knew this logically before the storm, and I have experienced, traumatic events prior to this, but I've not survived a natural disaster before. And it's strange because there were years that I lived in Florida, and there's always hurricanes that come through during the autumn, late summer, early autumn. And I had been through a few, nothing really big, nothing like Helene. And I never, ever expected to be living so far from the coast and to experience a storm of this magnitude. So I think knowing something logically and then going through it and experiencing it emotionally are two different things. And I found that from late September and really until now, because I feel that right now I'm probably in a stage of It feels like I fluctuate between acceptance and bartering, depending upon the day and my tolerance for stress. Immediately after and the months following were really, really tough. I have struggled with depression and anxiety for many years, and a little over a year ago, I was officially diagnosed with PTSD. Obviously not connected to the storm because that just happened 4.5 months ago. I'm learning about how my trauma shows up for me, what are my triggers, all of those types of things surrounding my PTSD diagnosis. And then to have gone through and survived a trauma-inducing event like a natural disaster really just threw me right into practicing coping strategies and learning more about myself and the tools that I have available to me. One of the good things that came out of the hurricane is I finally found a really good match in a therapist after many years of trying to find someone to be a good fit for long term. Something about the storm, I just found myself asking for help, asking for support, asking for hugs when I needed them. And I think it really helped make a difference in healing. And obviously I'm still healing from this experience and will continue to do so. And I'm sure that when the 6-month mark hits or the 1-year mark hits since the storm, probably some of the feelings that I had immediately following the storm will return. But I find that with time and with more practice and with more support, I'm slowly moving through the stages of grief. And I'm really, really grateful to have my therapist and my wife and my family and my friends and just everyone who has held space for me and listened to me following this event. And I'm really, really lucky, and I could never say thank you enough. And honestly, from the time we got back until, like, I would say the end of January, time just felt like a blur. Like it all just sort of blended together because we had to spend so much time planning out, okay, where are we going to get our clean drinking water? And there were tons of resources and assistance and aid that had come to the region in the time that we had been in Georgia. So it wasn't a matter of struggling to get the resources. It was just a matter of, oh, we have to like remember to go get clean drinking water at this place, or we need to go get canned goods from this place, and all those sorts of adjustments, you know, to daily living. And also, if we needed to go anywhere, we needed to remember that it was going to take longer than usual to get from one place to another because so many roads were closed. And because of that, all of the traffic going from one side of town to the other would be bottlenecked on the roads that remained open. And yeah, it was really strange to see so much aid and relief efforts and seeing, you know, cleanups happening, and yet also still so much devastation, especially when going to parts of town that we hadn't seen since the storm. And we've lived here since 2020, so we're very familiar with Asheville and the surrounding areas, and we have so many favorite spots around town. And even just recently, there have been parts of town that I've just seen for the first time since the storm, and it's truly shocking to see how the storm completely changed our town as well as the landscape. The rivers that flooded, the banks are completely different. So many trees are gone. So many homes are gone. So many businesses are gone. It's so strange and still so surreal. And there's also this process that I've found in order to get through day-to-day things. I have to almost have like this disconnect, or if I don't feel that I can mentally disconnect from the reality around me, then I have to take a different way to get to a particular place, because on days where I'm feeling a little better and a little bit more fortified, I'm okay to drive through those areas. I'm okay to like sit with those feelings of loss that come up. But then there's some days that I just don't have that in me, and I'm finding that it's okay to choose to drive a different way. I don't have to be strong and continually expose myself to the reality of the loss of this region, because it's going to take a long time for things to be rebuilt. And as a local and someone who absolutely loves this area, I have to keep attuned with my needs and attuned with what energy I have available for handling the emotions that come up when I am reminded of what has happened. Up until last month, everything just felt like a blur and all compressed into this block of time. And I did have a wonderful winter holiday season, and I did try to be present as much as I possibly could through the winter holidays, because of everything that we had been through in late 2024, which doesn't even include how 2024 started out for me and my family. If you haven't seen my video, a vulnerable vlog, I will link that in the cards as well as the description box if you're curious what happened in early 2024. 2024 threw a lot of curveballs and really tested my resilience, and I feel like by the end I was just waiting for, it's like, well, I feel like both shoes have already dropped, so what else is gonna drop? Because I've run out of shoes. One of the things that came out of surviving the storm, as well as what my family and I had to navigate in late 2024, which was having to say goodbye to one of our fur babies, Mr. Dragon, I realized that time is so incredibly precious, and thinking about how I wanted to spend my time in 2025 and beyond, I realized that I didn't want to continue to delay pursuing my dreams. So in early January, I gave notice at my traditional job, and on January 31st, I worked my last shift. And as of February 1st, I am officially self-employed. And in addition to content creation, which I've been doing for well over a year now, I am also adding freelance writing, proofreading, and editing to my offerings. I'm really, really excited. I'm also nervous, but I think it's the good kind of nervous because this is something that means so much to me. And I actually officially made erinjandacreative a business. It does feel really good to be taking this leap and to taking a chance on myself, taking a chance on my dream and one of my lifelong passions, which is writing and storytelling. I am so incredibly excited. I just feel really lucky, and I have so many exciting plans for this channel, for my other spaces on social media, and lots and lots of writing projects that I really want to get into this year and beyond. And I completely acknowledge and recognize that simply because I'm choosing to pursue my dream, it by no means guarantees that I'm going to be financially successful. And at this point, my wife's job is able to support our family, but I would like to make this a sustainable career, and it's something that I'm really committed to working hard on and making it a flourishing business. And so I hope you all are excited for this news and excited for some of the updates that I'll be sharing over the coming months. I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for being here, for watching my videos, for sending your words of encouragement, and especially for your patience while I took this unplanned absence. And I'm just so grateful to have your support and to have this community. And I'm so excited to bring you more videos this year because I'm venturing into freelance writing, and I'm not just solely doing content creation. At this point in time, my plan is to put out 2 videos a month here on YouTube. And if I find that I have more capacity in the future, I might increase the number of videos. But for now, 2 videos a month, especially having not made videos for several months and being out of practice, 2 feels like a good number for me at this point. So that is my big news. I am self-employed. Erinjandacreative is officially a business, and I've got lots of exciting updates coming over the next few months and through the end of 2025. As someone who is still living in a post-disaster region, because I can't just sit and dwell on the loss all day, every day, one of the ways that I cope is by choosing to look at some of the positive things. And I'm sure that for some people, like, I might seem a little upbeat in this video, especially given all that I've gone through, but just know that that is one of my coping mechanisms, and I don't mean to gloss over or make things seem that, oh, it's all fine, everything's fine, because it's not all fine. So yeah, this is just my experience and also how I am coping post-Helene at this point. Thank you so much for being here. I'd also like to give a special thank you to my patrons who have been supporting me this entire time. Thank you for sticking by me, and I'm just so grateful for your support. I hope you all are doing well. I hope you are safe. And until next time, I hope you have a lovely and cozy book to curl up with. Bye-bye. So I have been debating on how much
I don't know what you were gonna say. Get this shit. I
love you.
I love you.